Despite Weed's offensive tone, which would have enraged him in other situations, the instructor unexpectedly clapped his hands in delight. "I knew that's what you'd say. It's true. The likes of Sculpting Mastery are nothing but the awful mistakes of God that do not deserve a second of our attention. Why do I, a man of the sword, need to ever think of it?" "I agree with you wholeheartedly, Weed-nim." Weed sensed that, though invisible, his friendship with the instructor had moved to a higher degree at that moment. This was how to make friends with others. You don't need to shed blood with them. You don't need to squander time and money on them. You join them in speaking ill of something at the first opportunity, and it will invoke their sympathy. Weed expected the instructor to change the topic of the conversation, but he rubbed the back of his head and stayed on the subject. "There is a rumor that an unknown man mastered sculpting and carved Moonlight," the instructor said. "I doubt it, sir. A rumor is always prone to distortion. How can anyone carve Moonlight? Perhaps it was a pebble in the shape of a moon," Weed said mockingly. "You think so too? But I was told by my predecessor. His honorable name is Melium, currently a royal knight. Sculpting was perceived as useless, no more than trimming a small block of wood to produce an ornament. Rumor said you could make projectile weapons if you elevated the craft beyond a particular level, but it was undoubtedly one of those skills that nobody bothered learning. On that account, Weed-nim, this question of sculpting mastery intrigues me. It surely is beyond doubt that the craft cannot possibly rival our sword under any circumstances, but would you find out whether the rumor has any truth? I am asking you a favor because you are a trustworthy man. I'd be happy if you accepted my request." The instructor said. A message appeared in front of Weed's eyes. "Tang, a mystery sculptor, rumored to have visited the royal palace." A rumor that a man who had mastered sculpting sculpted Moonlight has been prevalent in the royal court of Rosenheim Kingdom for a long time. Look into the rumor to determine if this was true. Difficulty level. E-quest requirements. Close friendship with the instructor reserved only for those who have not acquired Sculpting Mastery. Acknowledged as reliable by the instructor for passion in sword mastery. Weed held back a triumphant shout. His instinct told him that this quest was the rarest of the rare. Quests had to meet very tricky conditions to be unlocked. Close friendship with the instructor. Who would have ever thought of that? Most users didn't know the existence of the training hall, let alone visit it when they acquired a new skill. They don't need to come all that way to try it on a training dummy. Moreover, it's rare for anyone to be willing to get stuck in the hall hitting the training dummy over and over to raise their stats, as Weed had done. With enough investigating, a few users like that could be found, but in Weed's case, he had spent 3 weeks straight hitting the scarecrow. Who else would do it out to such an extent? Forming a close friendship with the instructor was nearly impossible unless someone like Weed approached him and had lunch with him. Even if all the conditions above were met, one still had to begin their adventure at the citadel of Cereborg in Rosenheim Kingdom against all odds. Not to mention that one had to find the right moment to slander sculpting along with the instructor. Perfect timing. I'm about to go broke and starve to death. At difficulty level E, this quest seems easy enough. Weed bowed to the instructor. "I would be honored to accept your quest. Although I don't believe in that nonsense, I'll discover what it was like to sculpt Moonlight." "You accepted the quest. I appreciate it. I'll entrust you with this task. Take this money as funds," the instructor said, handing over 2 silvers. "I'll give you some advice. Visit the sculpture shop first and get some information from there. A piece of rye bread, tasteless yet filling, costs 3 copper. Since a silver coin equals 100 copper coins, it was safe to say Weed had just received the equivalent of 66 pieces of rye bread for the quest, plus change. Weed was confident that once he completed the quest, he could expect more rewards from the instructor. Great! I don't need to worry about running out of bread for now. Years of first-hand experience with chronic poverty and hunger persuaded him to avoid being malnourished at all costs. To be continued.